Here's a guy that takes various forms and molds. Here to look at the brand new Mattel Master Universe Origins Terroar shapeshifter with a sinister streak. The Snake Man's alien ally renders his enemy helpless with a deafening sonic roar. The irony isn't lost on me that a character like Terror, who's known for changing his parts, borrows so many from others. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the Master Universe Origins Terroar. First, the tape measure is going to tell us that the figure, in fact, stands 6 inches in height, or is roughly 15 centimeters tall. I know what you're thinking. Mattel's being lazy. They're reusing old parts as an excuse to create a brand new character. Well, half of that is correct. Mattel really was still using old parts, and they had the plan to still get the most mileage out of those molds to create a brand new character, but this was also something that they were doing in the 80s as well. For some that may not know this, Terror was originally a concept character that was part of several figures that were never going to see the light of day near the end of the Master Universe line. The line really got cancelled long before Terror got released. The closest thing, in fact, we did get ourselves to Terror was part of a PowerCon 3-pack released as part of the Master Universe Classics line, where, in fact, Terror, Plasmar, which I don't think we still have gotten ourselves a Plasmar, and Lord Grass were part of that 3-pack. That's the only other instance that I can think of that actually we've gotten a Terror. So now we are actually getting a Terror. So in some sense, we're getting a concept character, and I think it's pretty cool. Yes, it is technically using the same parts as old Master Universe Origins figures. So like the majority of his body, I shouldn't say that really. Like the top half of his body is clearly being used by Rattler. You can see basically from his belt up. His arms are also something that's going to be sharing the same along with Rattler. His head sculpt is going to be that of Whiplash. So right there, we've got the recipe at the top half of his body, right? We've got the head sculpt there for Whiplash. Then, of course, we got the arm here for Trapjaw. And along with that, too, he's going to have the same matching swapped out parts that Trapjaw also had as well. But you can probably also recognize those boots as coming from another character. That just happened to be Mosquitor. So while it may not have taken a village, it did take, though, 4 figures to build the body of Terror. One of the other things that he also borrows as well is the same mini-comic Leviathan's War. This came with Reptilax, which is one of the characters we've already had a look at here on this channel. Another concept character, more pulled from the pages of the mini-comics. You can also see as well there's Snake Armor Skeletor. Advertised on the back is Lord Grass, so he would have been part of that 3-pack PowerCom release. And there's also Vipor. Definitely want to get my hands on Vipor. But if we, though, flip through the comics, I know we've already seen this comic already, heavily really goes with the idea of the Snake Men being the big baddies this time around. There's Reptilax right there, and Snake Armor Skeletor. The comics are shorter, obviously, in read. I mean, there's only about 4 pages to have to flip through. Nice little mini comic. I already have the other one from Reptilax. I'm just going to simply put that. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying Reptilax. Let's put that off to the side. For the accessories, though, that come included with Terror, if you are familiar, of course, with all the things that came included arm-wise with Trapjaw, you'll recognize these right away. Part of me would have loved, honestly, if they included different arm accessories that weren't already packed along with Trapjaw, just so that, if you did already have Trapjaw, you could have maybe a little nudge in the direction of wanting to get yourself Terror, because then you could say, well, hey, he has things with him that weren't already included with Trapjaw, little extra bonus Easter eggs. So he gets himself, for example, a little claw tool. The claw doesn't actually open and close. It's molded here in black plastic. Also molded in black plastic is a hook. And also as well, you can see he has the laser blaster. All of these can be attached onto the figure's arms. The only unfortunate thing, though, is that you'll see anywhere on Terror, there's no place to hook on the extra pieces. If it was Trapjaw, for example, bringing back in Trapjaw, Trapjaw had these little, of course, hooked pieces on the back, so you simply could just take any part that you wanted to use. But speaking of which, though, I already have the blaster attached onto the end of Trapjaw. You can see it's exactly the same. Yeah, there's no place, there's no little loops or anything on the side. He's literally also just using the same belt as Rattler also, so they haven't molded anything new. Nice if they could have added a little bit of loops to the side, so at least there would have been a place to hook on the extra arm attachments. But I know there's really so much going on already. He's quite busy with things going on. But if you wanted to, you simply just take the arm attachment, just plug it in place. So he's got the blaster. He has the hook tool. And he also has himself the little pincer. Grabby, grabby, grabby. I think for me, at least, I'd like to probably display this guy with the blaster. Although I know that's probably make things very much samesies to what I already got with Trapjaw. I should really change things up. But right now, we're going to go with the blaster. Looks pretty cool. One of the other things that had to be installed with the figure when you take him out of the packaging is his tail. The tail is the same rubbery plastic as Rattler, so I'm just going to bring back in Rattler. It's missing, though, a little bit of the extra paint down below. Rattler got afforded some extra yellow. This basically, Terror just molds it all here in purple. One thing you have to do, though, is that you have to attach it onto the back of his body, and you have to get it around the shoulder piece. All you really have to do is lift this just enough that you tuck this underneath, and then snap this in place. And you got yourself a little soft plastic tail. I feel like the plastic on the tail, maybe it's a little bit more pliable than what we got with Rattler. I mean, it's really kind of hard to say. I mean, looking at the two, you would swear that they're being used of the same material. But I feel like this is maybe just a little bit softer. The other thing as well, he doesn't have Rattler's rattle. He does also have, of course, the neck attachment. That is also something came included with Rattler. So if you wanted to have the longer neck for Terror, simply just detach the head that he has right now. Then you just add the neck piece like that. And then you just add the head on top of that. The only thing I would say is probably the thing that you're seeing right now. Why is not the color matching in the neck? I mean, you could probably say like his neck doesn't have to be the exact same color. But I think if you're honestly, though, I mean, even like looking at the packaging here, the packaging does have Terror featured, though, with the red in his neck. I mean, it's supposed to, I suppose, look like that, but it seems so a little jarring and out of place. The only thing I could kind of buy behind is maybe the idea, if he's using a sonic roar, maybe that's why his neck is glowing like this. I'm suspending some disbelief here as to why his chest has to be a dark black, and yet this area has to be red. Maybe, again, it glows just before it goes... Taking the head off, though, I'm not really going to be displaying, I think, Terror with the extended neck piece. That just snaps back in place. Now, okay, so if we kind of look at the recipe here, it's very much like Taco Bell. Taco Bell can always really say that they're coming out with a new specialty menu item, but it's literally just always the same 5 ingredients. The 5 ingredients we've already kind of dissected here, so of course you got yourself a Whiplash's head sculpt. So we're going to bring back in, maybe we'll do this a little bit at a time. We'll get the same head sculpt going here for Whiplash. Obviously here it's molded just in purple instead of the green. He doesn't have as much these sleepy eyes as Whiplash. You can see they basically molded the head all in purple with adding these bushy caterpillars just above that all in black. I like the use of the red eyes, even though, I mean, with the head sculpt being so close like this, molding this in purple and adding those little different touches like the red make one a little bit different than the other. The body, as we've already kind of looked at, does, again, it's Rattler's. So like the arms, well, this arm at least will be exactly the same. The torso, the chest piece, and the belt will also be shared, as well as the loincloth. The Trapjaw, obviously arm, we're going to bring that in exactly the same, so nothing really different there. And of course the lower half of his legs, one of my all-time favorite figures is Mosquitor. The only thing that they haven't done, though, is they haven't painted the little red triangles on the fronts. Mosquitor had it. Terror doesn't unfortunately have that. His silver, I can't help but notice also, is a little bit more shinier. But that's basically all the same figure. I like the colors, though, even though this is a reuse. This probably would be the worst example of just reusing the most of the molds. There's nothing really at all that's unique to Terror that hasn't already been released in a previous figure before. Of course, with that, the figure's going to have the exact same articulation. The head's going to be in a ball joint, whether you want to use this head sculpt or not. I couldn't also help but notice, you may have also noticed this too when I did this earlier, the neck piece doesn't really want to stay in place. When I think that I have it on there, the neck seems to want to pop off very, very easily. I don't know if it's maybe just a case that's not fitting properly into the socketed hole. It just doesn't want to stay in there. Now, again, if you want to have the neck like this, it does make things, I suppose, a little bit different. I mean, obviously, if him going to be using the same molds, I haven't done this at all. Rattler tends to sit on the shelf just with the neck like this, well, with just a regular head like this. I don't ever tend to use the extended neck. So really, also what I could do is change, of course, the blaster to something a little bit different, adding then the neck piece. This guy may look a little bit then different than the other characters we already have. Just taking off the neck. So again, like the head's going to be on a ball joint. It rotates all the way around. The head can look up only so far. You can look down, and you can also move it back and forth just a little bit. Of course, you got your waist swivel. Nothing changes there. The one thing that is going to change, though, is a little bit of the poseability. Now, the arm, this being a regular arm on the one side, I say regular arm. He's got a big, hairy, scaly arm. Arm moves out this way. Of course, you can rotate all the way around. Just a single hinge, though, in the elbow, but it allows at least the forearm to rotate. And the hands do rotate all the way around. He has only a relaxed hand on one side. He doesn't have a gripping hand. And obviously, he's not going to do much of gripping over here. Now, this arm, because of course it's trap jaws, does have a ball joint, so it does move out. You can also rotate it all the way around. He has a swivel there. He doesn't have a swivel at the top here, where, like, when you're looking at it, you would swear that something could swivel to the top, but it doesn't. It swivels here, though. He has a single hinge in the elbow, what would be his elbow, and technically, where this attaches, there could be some swivelage happening there as well. The legs split out. You can bring them forward. You can bring them back. Swivel at the top of the thigh. Single hinge in the knee. Rotation in the lower leg. Chunky, clunky boots. Move up and down. There's a hinge joint right there, and you can also rock them back and forth. The figure of Terror does also have pegels in the bottoms of his feet. I know it's somewhat redundant to say that because all Master Universe Origins figures have the same thing. The same rule apply. All in all, though, it's a nice-looking figure. I mean, some may just pass on this guy altogether, like literally looking at this guy and thinking, it's like Taco Bell. You can come out and call it cheesy gordita crunch, but I know it's just all the same ingredients that I keep constantly buying at Taco Bell. You simply have just found a new way to kind of change around the order. And while, again, like the order of this guy simply is just a reuse of parts. The fact that once you do the history of this guy and you kind of look back to see where his origins actually came from, yes, it is a reuse of parts, but at least those reuse of parts were reused in parts back in the 80s as well, when originally Terror was going to see the light of day. Unfortunately, though, he never did, but we get the chance at least to experience this guy now as a Master Universe Origins. If you had the chance already to get the Master Universe Classics line, then you already know that Terror was part of that. But other than that, that's the only time this character's ever been seeing the light of day. It's kind of neat to be able to see what would have been the case back in the 80s, now in the 2000s instead. Well, it would seem I didn't put nearly enough pressure against the neck of Terror. With a little bit of extra pressure and persistence, it snaps securely in place. Still not sure I like the look of the neck having the red like that. I like it in the fact that it does bring some extra color to what would be an all pretty much purple and black character, but I wish that some of that red could have also found its way into the torso. To be fair, though, this may have been the original design that they had in mind for Terror way back in the 80s, and simply now Mattel in the 2000s is replicating that look again. From the look of its parts, I mean, literally, he is the sum of many parts. The character, I could see why people would look at this and say, you know, I don't have really much interest in what clearly is just many characters all sort of slapped together. It's literally the Taco Bell new menu item. And yet, though, there's something charming about Terror. Maybe it's the fact that there are things about the character that I already liked. I like the boots, the clunky spaceman boots that came with Mosquitor. He's got those. I like the arm of Trapjaw, like that as well. The back of the tail has always sort of been a persistent thing when it came to Ratlore, and yet it works pretty good with Terror. I mean, for what he has being the sum of many parts, at least all those parts from different characters are the things I like the most, except really Rattler's tail. What do you guys think of Terror? Let me know down below in the comments section. Do you think that this is worth the pickup, or do you just literally think that, I don't know, it's just, again, a Taco Bell menu item? Am I the only one that really thinks that? I mean, every time Taco Bell comes out with something new, sure, they can introduce a brand new sauce, but we know it's literally just the same 5 menu items again. They just change the order of it. We're going to put cheese on the outside. We're going to maybe grill this time. It's literally just the same menu item every single time. If you guys did enjoy this video, though, why were we talking so much about Taco Bell? But if you guys did enjoy this video, do it a solid. Throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Actually, though, if I can let everybody know who's into Master Universe, we are going to be looking at a couple more Masters reviews coming up this week. So if that's your bread and butter, make sure you're coming back to this channel. And as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.